Hi, hello. So I got my iPad today because I knew I was gonna be looking at some astrology. I wish there was someone, maybe it is already someone's tagline. Um, like there's some astrological teacher, I guess, some teacher of astrology that's like really accessible astrology. Or like a website or something, and they just go like, "We take the out of astrology," like taking the out of astrology. Like when you're thinking and you're like, "You get it." I'm not that person. It ain't me. Jupiter retrogrades has retrograded. Ooh, the moon is in Capricorn. Saturn is retrograde. Neptune is retrograde. Pluto is retrograde. Uranus is retrograde. Chiron is retrograde, and Jupiter has retrograde. I also wanted to like pre and post retrograde, see what those aspects are. Oh, that's like an exact trine with Juno. 21 degrees of Gemini, 21 degrees of Libra. The part of fortune is in Aquarius right now. So there's a grand air trine between the part of fortune, Juno, and Jupiter. Oh, Jupiter and Juno. Okay. All right. So I kind of wanted to do something for Jupiter retrograde, but I also had an idea to do something that I'm surprised I haven't done yet, which is to pull before, I guess, before and after the two of orbs in the Vitruvian edition of the Spirit Keepers Tarot, and then pull before and after the Force and the Demon in the Revelations edition of the Spirit Keepers Tarot. Because in the Vitruvian edition, there's like the North Node world or the North Node wheel and the South Node wheel. And then, oh my gosh, oh, what? Hi. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Sorry. I don't know what's going on with the celebrities and girl, it's wild up there. Anyway, how are you doing? Hi, hello. I'm glad to hear it. I'm doing, I don't know. Honestly, I'm good personally, just like emotionally. I feel like I'm back in my emotions or I'm connected to my emotions again. It's not it. This is not it. Not that I was emotions before, but I'm just like a little emotionally fried, you know what I mean? But also at the same time, I feel like I'm coming into uh a space that if I was smart, I would have known I was coming into. Like if I halfway paid attention, I would have been able to see myself sort of in the position that I'm in, but I just really thought that I'd be able to get away with not, I guess. so, so I'm like, yeah. And then of course everyone is like, it's time, it's time. Like literally before I came live, there's like thumbnails and video and titles that's like, it's time. The time is now. Anyway, yeah, that's a lot going on and just unfortunately here we are. But unfortunate todays sometimes lead to blissful and wonderful tomorrow. So keeping hope alive. I'm good. It's been such an interesting year that like I was just thinking, I think like a few nights ago. I can't remember if I mentioned it in a live or not, where it's like I haven't worked all year, basically. Like I worked the first few months, but it was so slow, it was barely even work. But I've been like I've been taken care of this year. It's so I don't know, it's interesting. Um Personally, I'm well, and I'm in a position to consider what I want to do next in life. And I want to do something that I want to do. And I feel like this is the first time I'm in a position to do something that I really want to do and not have so many limitations and restrictions on like where I'm going to live and like what industry I'm going to be in or whatever. So, and now that it's like here, it's not that it's freaking me out. It's just like real life, you know? So I'm like, oh, but yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out and we'll see where I end up. Yeah. Happy early birthday. Yeah. One of my friends just turned 30 and I was like, how does it feel? He was like, same. Yeah, it does. Until one day you bend over to pick something up and you throw your back out. Anyway. So that's what I wanted to do with the nocturne. I feel like something else. I was just thinking about you. I don't remember why. You had crossed my mind. Maybe this is why. So nice to see you. I already have these two shuffled. I have the well known alchemy archetypes and the fable makers out. I don't know if I'm gonna use them. We'll see. But yeah, it feels like it's an interesting time to say the least. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. And even in my dreams, it's like, wait, it's happening. I feel like actually, I think I know why I was thinking of you. I think I remember why you crossed my mind because I've been seeing. I was thinking there's this a recurring character, I guess you could say, in one of my dreams, in some of my dreams. And today, the character wears a face that I know, but it doesn't feel like the person. So today, I was like, well, I wonder like who this character is. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could reach out to somebody. I don't know. I thought of you for some reason because I don't know. I thought of you. Uh, maybe it was yeah. So interesting though. It's there's a whole thing that's I feel like happening, and I'm just alive. You know, I have the fortune to be alive in the world of today. So grateful for the gift of breath and the activity of my limbs and full bellies and to have shelter and access to health care, clean water. So taking it stride, taking it stride. Yeah. I'm like I, I think I feel like too there's partially like I had a thought earlier today. I forget what it was. I went to the gym today. I was on the treadmill and just like again, like now that I'm connected to my emotions again, I feel like sometimes it just like comes in waves. And excuse me, I process things a little differently. Um, Meaning that like emotions don't get my emotions tend to linger in anger less. Um, and so I'm just like in the zone, in my little, and I'm in my own mind and doing whatever. And then it was just like, I feel like I put myself in the situation, not the situation that I'm in, But I feel like I push more and more and more. I press more and more and more, and I want to do less, but I keep doing more. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like today it was just like, look at you, look at what you're doing, look at what you're thinking, and you think that you just, it's like, no. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Not making things harder on myself. It's like, I guess, like coming more and more and more into my autonomy, sovereignty, authenticity, like within myself. But then it's like, as I'm going about my day to day, I'm like, I'm just a muggle and I want to be a muggle. I don't want anything. I want my little cubicle and my little whatever. But at the same time, it's like, I guess you could say I'm delving more into my own spirituality. Kinda. See, I don't feel like I wouldn't necessarily call it delving more into my spirituality because it's always there. I don't know how to say it. I wouldn't mind muggling from like 9 to 5, or if like ideally, if I could get away with muggling from like 10 to 2 or 10 to 3, I feel like that would be perfect, at least, you know. But yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, but again, I also find myself in a position of wanting more of a balance and less of a skewed, like 95% muggle, 5% everything else. Um, so I just feel like it caught up with me. And I'm like, oh, well, how do we do this again? But yeah, besides that, I'm good. Like I have nothing to complain about. The siren and the shapeshifter. Oof. But yeah. The underworld and the siren. I feel like s- somebody was just talking about Persephone. The hunter, the riddle, the healer, and Apocalypse. Also, I don't know if the video was gonna cut out, if the audio was gonna cut out. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Enjoy your dinner. And yeah, we'll chat. We'll chat. I'm excited. Yes, I am excited. It's just, I don't know. Oh, the empty room in the underworld. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is kind of like how I did. I think it was the one that ended up privated. I'm gonna pull before and after Jupiter in the well-known alchemy because there's a Jupiter card. Jupiter is about to retrograde. The card before Jupiter, or will I do both? No, I'll do one. The card before Jupiter will speak to the archetype of Jupiter's retrograde, I guess. And then the card after will be the alchemy associated with Jupiter. And then I'm gonna do the nocturne and the see there it goes again. I feel like just like stray emotions all over. Mm. That was a stray emotion that just passed by, just whizzing through the sky. I call it a stray emotion, but Is it a stray if you know where it lives? All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. Silver. This is interesting. So the audio, silver sugar, the audio cut out. I think when I was in the third power, I was like, because I listened to it, I think Raj left a comment and I was like, what? And then I went back and listened and yeah, the audio cuts out like 25 or so minutes in. And I feel like I was like, I wonder if, and then I start talking, but there's no audio. So there's no audio for the fourth power of 16 at all. And I think like some audio for eight. I was like, oh my gosh, I was in the gym and I saw the fourth power of 2, 2, 4, 8, 16. Didn't matter because you couldn't hear it, which is fine. Maybe it was for me. All right, let us see. Let us see. Oh, oh, that was such a clean flip, but it went back into the deck, like still face down. It came up and it went down. I'm like, okay, well, something's happening. Ooh, mystical sister with the raven's head. It's fine. I'm gonna breathe. Breathe. All right, two more. I'm pulling before and after Jupiter, so I don't necessarily need for a card to jump out. Oh. After I was like, I don't need for a card to come out. The card that was at the top of the deck that hit the floor yesterday came back out, and it's smoke. Now, smoke has been playing a very interesting role lately in the smoke fog dynamic, especially when it comes to Neptune. And it almost separates the miraculous from the fantastical, where the fantastical is something like more associated with the illusion, the illusory versus the miraculous. I guess let's just get started. Bottom at the bottom of the deck. Calcification. This came out yesterday. The first season was actually summer. So it was summer and then calcification and then white salt and then silver. So it was summer without the smoke because there's gold in the smoke. Maybe that's why we see autumn where this tree is heavy with all this gold. Calcification. Oh wait, I'm keeping this here. All right. All right. All right. Looking for Jupiter. Jupiter. It may be number six. Uh, because I feel like I've been seeing. There's Uranus. Seeing winter and spring. Is that spring? Winter. This card right here. Why can't I grab it? And spring. Yeah, winter, spring. Oh, here's Jupiter. Jupiter is next to summer. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's no gold in summer. It's all on Jupiter. Oh my goodness. The card before Jupiter is glass. We've been seeing glass literally, I feel like every single time I pull, and then before glass is Neptune, and before Neptune is vinegar. Okay. And then there's the blue temple after. Oh, I shuffled these. Okay. Hey, Matthew, how you doing? Oh, snap. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Hopefully, it is as eventful as it need be and not more. Right. I could have put this card back in the deck, but that's fine. So we have smoke. So the alchemy of Jupiter is glass, or maybe it's the alchemy of Jupiter retrograding is glass. The alchemy of Jupiter retrograding being glass is interesting because it almost feels like there's a clarity at the present moment of self, and there's an ability to see where 18 is an archetype of self. It might be Siren actually. It might be the Siren. It may not be, but it might be. It's almost like because there's a clarity now, maybe there's something where an opportunity will unfold further than it had before, right? The moon was in Capricorn. We are in Libra season. Oh, so it's going to be a while until we hit that full moon in Aries. It ain't like in the next few days. That's probably about a week or so ish. The sun is already 17 degrees of Libra, so it's going to be a loose conjunction with the North Node, but probably a lot closer to Chiron, which is at 21 degrees, sextiling directly Jupiter and Gemini and opposing Juno. Maybe this is a part of that. Jupiter and Juno are in an exact trine, and then you have Chiron right there. Because Chiron opposes Juno, it's almost like Jupiter and Juno are sitting down to have a reconciliatory conversation to smooth things out. And Jupiter is like finally matured, I guess, finally ready to commit. And is like, well, let's let bygones be bygones. And Juno is like also ready to commit, but is still working through making her peace with the past. And I was watching a podcast the other day. It was actually really good. I don't stand anybody, but Carrie Kobe may be the first person that I'm like, okay. Um, but it was actually a different video where somebody was talking about how she had beef, uh, or he had beef with somebody else. And he had the show, and the other person came on his show. And he had his producers and everything go through everything that that person had said against them. And he was ready to like combat this other person. But at the top of the interview, she apologized. She was like, I'm so sorry, like for all the things I said about you. Like my mother was going through it and I wasn't in a good headspace and I kind of sort of took it out on you. Like and a lot of people, but specifically you. And so because there was an apology, it's like that feeling of like being geared and ready to almost be combative. pre-combative. Um, but then the other person or the other side comes with peace, and then it's like the burden of maintaining or the burden of the burden of establishing that peace falls on like the Juno energy because Jupiter is apologizing. It's like if there isn't peace or whatever, it's kind of like because of Juno. But with Juno, everything that she brings to the forefront is, or like everything she would bring to the conversation is factual, but it's something within Juno because Jupiter is already apologized. Jupiter's come to make peace. Jupiter's like, sorry, there's like 10 million demigods on the planet because mortals are just so enticing. And Hera's like, I'm a whole, or Juno's like, I'm a whole divine whatever. Like a mortal could literally never. And still, I wasn't good enough. Okay, well, maybe that I wasn't good enough part is for her to work out within herself. Anyway, Chiron being there, sextiling Jupiter, but opposing Juno, again, it feels like it's that Jupiter has worked through something, Juno is catching up. But I think that's the thing too, depending on how things play out in a dynamic, especially in a dynamic. Um, the different sides of a dynamic, they don't necessarily have the same amount of time to make their peace, right? And I guess it depends on the heavier flow of information, right? So like for like if someone's coming out or if someone is has a major life decision or like someone whatever, it's like the person with something to say has had their time to process it, come to terms with it, and be comfortable enough, excuse me, to have the courage to vocalize it. But for the person on the other side, it's like they're hearing it for the first time. And so they would then maybe need time to process also. I don't. Let's look for 18, before and after 18, right? XDII. Up there's 19. 19 is not 18. There's 17. Still not 18. But we're getting closer. What's that song by the Chainsmokers? That was the song of the summer of like 2016. I remember because that was the summer before I RA'd and overall was obsessed. And because she was obsessed, we heard that song. Uh, we kind of didn't have a choice unless we wore earplugs in. 16. Oh, there was a song that so the reason why I'm doing this is for some reason somehow Into the Woods. I don't think it's called The Steps of the Palace or On the Palace, but it's when Cinderella is stuck in the stuff on the steps of the palace and she's like trying to decide if she'll like confront the prince or and like enter this whole new world, this whole new life, or if she'll run away to her old life. And so her choice was not to decide. She left him a clue, which was a shoe. and he used that shoe to find her. Because her thing was, if he sees me in my environment as I am, not on these fantastic nights, and still wants me, then I'll say yes. Because she didn't know if she was what a prince would envision or what a prince would want, right? But that's why I ended up, I was like, oh, the Nocturne, North Node, South Node, Worlds, Wheels of Fortune, albums, Into the Woods, Stephen Sondheim. What is the order? Girl, these are all over the place. Let's go to artists. I can at least go to Sondheim because this album list is not doing it. Hello. Into the Woods, which is interesting. Oh, because it's not. It's Paul G. That's why it wasn't coming up under Sondheim. But didn't Sondheim do Into the Woods? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That and a little bit of On the Steps of the Palace is the song. I don't own the copyrights to it, so I'm not going to play it. But that and a little bit of, I don't think this is the same. So, what's it is the same song. It just has the same melody as the one where she's talking to the baker's wife about the prince. Is that before she went? Anyway, it's fine. On the Steps of the Palace, which is interesting because I feel like recently, Phanuel, Angel of Truth, that stands on the steps of the throne. Anyway, let's try to find 18. We are well, well through these cards. This feels like two cards. The one is thick. I don't know why this card feels so thick to me, but it feels like it's multiple cards instead of just one. I guess it's considering. Like, all right. The Siren, number 18. Oh my gosh. Okay. We have the Shapeshifter and the Vision. 15 and 55, a difference of 40, which is death. The Vision and the Shapeshifter is interesting. This is so interesting. I guess I'm gonna look at my phone because I am a millennial. I'll just use the evidence. So before the Siren is the Cave, which is 32. 32 is also smoke. 32, 32. This also came out recently. It was the Destroyer, the Cave, and then there was another card because it was these like Eyes in the Darkness. I forget what the other card was because oh, it was the angel. There was an angel with this huge mirror. Oh my gosh. That was in that was in the video that got privated because I lost connection before I even got to the card. No, no, because I talked about it and I remember showing it, but I don't think it was in the final cards, maybe. On the other side of the siren is Anima Mundi. I don't know if that just I need to be careful because if I accidentally disconnect these from either here or here on my laptop, the audio is gonna be lost. Anima Mundi is what is behind these eyes in the cave. So that's what I'm like. But that also, am I gonna have to get that card to show you? It's like it makes sense. Oh, it's fine. We live, we laugh, we love, we learn, and then we do. No, because I only pulled the one angel, so it had to be in the final cards. It had to be in the final cards. That angel, we saw the Three of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands, I believe. And I think it was the Nine of Wands. He's a very smart. No! Wow, I'm triggered. I'm like going through the lyrics in the song because she's like, he's a very smart prince. Uh, because so she was running away. Cinderella was running away from the prince, and he was like trying to find out who this woman was. So he had pitch spread on the stairs so that she would get stuck when she tried to run away, so he could identify her. And I was like I was saying to Reem earlier, I feel like I just walked into a whole trap. I feel like I've been bamboozled because I am who I am and how I am. Of course, I wouldn't just whatever, you know. Yeah, it was the final card. You see in the mirror, it's like it looks like these are two eyes. And then like you see all these planets and stuff, right? So that's why I'm like, oh, well, yeah, for the two eyes in the cave to be related to Anima Mundi when we've seen this recently, I'm not surprised. But it's like on a planet, but it's also like this nebulous star gas. And we have the card of smoke that is here. That is such an interesting. I don't know. So with the glass, it was like that the Dear God song. And it was that part where it's like, and then I'm back behind the glass again. Oh God, what keeps you out? It keeps me in. So it's almost like someone is pressed up against the glass, trying to find or see something. And then it's like this face comes up. Now in my mind, it's more like jump scary. It's like it's not there, and then it's you're like, oh my gosh, like because usually you stare into the abyss or you look into the glass and you don't see anybody. But it's like this time when you go looking, someone's there. The vision and the shapeshifter. Or you see yourself in a different way. This could also be there was some aspect of you that whenever you went to look into the glass, metaphorically, however this resonates or applies, there was something that you'd see. And then it's like, and then agape and aletheia are behind the vision and the shapeshifter, which is that unconditional love and that absolute truth. Unconditional love, absolute truth. Again, these two partner with Anima Mundi, and then the ring and the seed is under these two. Um, it's like you go through enough personal transformation or whatever that one day when you go and you look in the glass again, you realize that it was a mirror. But the mirror was showing you or reflecting another version of the self back to you. I guess if it was in the past, then it was your future self. If you have recently come into like a significant amount of healing, maybe it was a healed self or a self that isn't bound by some trauma of old. With the drowned temple here or the blue temple, this is a whole bunch of whatever. I'm already at a loss. Like I didn't 4234 on the clock. It's like the numbers are in sequence, but they're all jumping around. That's my brain. Wait, 4234. 4234. 4234 again, it's like the glass showed a four. And then the person did the 234. So maybe when the person was a two, they saw a four on the other side of the glass. When they were three, they saw a four on the other side of the glass. But now that they're a four, they see the four on the other side of the glass. They realize that it's a mirror. But it's not, it's like time, there's some kind of time differential with the mirror, or some kind of differential. Because it's not a two for two, three for three, four for four. There's something pulling Jupiter in. And Jupiter's again, it's like Jupiter's in a space where it wants to make things right with Juno. Is Juno it's just I'm gonna go how I planned. I feel like this is oh look, the nocturne is at the bottom of the deck. So again you see the north node and the south node. The south node is on the devil card, the north node is on the strength card. So cutting to the discerning one, the two of wands and the two of pentacles. We just saw the discerning one. I guess I just saw it if you were here when I was live. So Two of Swords, the Two of Swords came out. We saw the Two of Wands and the Two of Pentacles, the Nocturne, the Discerning One, the Blind Seer. Moon and Libra. We've already had that new moon, Libra solar eclipse, but here again we see the eye of God. That's the eye of God. And here, so it could be like using one's divine sight rather than one's physical sight, because in the physical, it's almost like there's no delineator or differentiator. The pros and the cons come out equally. That's why it's like an impasse. But with a higher sight, you can see further out to know like how things will play out. So maybe it's more balanced today at a two or a three. But if we take this down to a four, maybe at that point the paths like split or branch off. But just to like be at the mirror or at the glass, to be at the glass and for to see the eyes of the enemy mundi come out, well, whatever. This also makes me think of like not looking some things in the eyes because it's so bright, so brilliant. It would like blind you. Like for example, in Supernatural, when somebody was being followed by an angel and he went to a seer and he was like, something's following me and I don't know what it is. Can you see what it is? She was blinded because she's like trying to like we can't even stare at the sun, or we're not supposed to stare at the sun full brilliance, not the setting sun or the rising sun, but like the sun sun. Can't even stare at the sun without getting like sunspots at least. And this is so much brighter. But it's so bright that you could see it even with the blindfold on. Now that energy came out recently. The ebony shield at the bottom of the deck. What am I doing? Pulling before and after the two of pentacles. The two of pentacles is in between the four of cups and the five of cups. We just saw the four of cups with the ICC, excuse me, where it was 9139. I know that was the number. I forget what the title is. This was the hallowed void. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Ridiculous. This is ridiculous. The Page of Cups and the Initiate. Herald of the Purifying with the Initiate. Um, with the Hollow Void, it came out with Mortifatio and the Void. And it was the third sword of Uranus. It's where light is and darkness is. And I was thinking about that too. It's like, according to, I guess, what Judeo Christian beliefs, one of the first things that God created was light, but the darkness already existed. Now, I guess it's a question of, because darkness isn't necessarily nothing. So the darkness would have also had to have been created, but it was created before, I guess you could say, before the thought of humanity even crossed God's mind, or like to need to be created. When was darkness created? Nobody knows. Maybe somebody does. I don't know. Anyway, with the hallowed void, that's when we go deep enough that we find that empty room that isn't empty. That's why you have in the cave here when the hermit goes so far inside that it reemerges outside, when the hermit meets the spark of divinity within, because it has gone deep enough within. So again, the hollow void, it's the hollow void, but it's the hallowed void. Is where the hermit sees that, and then this five of cups in this deck is the spark of the creator within us. Now, here in the grotesque specifically, it's the part of us that makes us unique or special or separates us from everyone else. And so we suppress it because of because it leads to like an isolatory experience. But to go into that hallowed void and to meet that spark, while the cards that came out is like the cave and Anima Mundi, it's confirming itself. But what does it mean? Is this implying that on the North Node world, that's where we meet that spark? And in the South Node world is where it continues to remain void? Maybe. Also, Mars in Libra, no. Mars in Scorpio, trining Moon in Cancer. And Scorpio is those dark waters where it's like beyond Scorpio lies the hallowed void. Scorpionic energy is so interesting. Again, because of the powers of two and three. So, with this glass actually being a mirror, Scorpio and the powers of two and three had reached the other side of death. And it was the angel tarot. So now Venus has moved or will move into Scorpio. Venus is in Scorpio. Venus is like 20 degrees of Scorpio. Hello? Venus is firmly in Scorpio. The moon is in Cancer. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. October 9th, 2024. That's Mars. That's Mars. Mars is in Cancer. Oh my gosh. Mars is 19 degrees of Cancer. Venus is 20 degrees of Scorpio. That's a pretty close trine. I think Venus is faster than Mars, so it's loosening. And then Mars is going to retrograde. So that trine is definitely breaking. Because I don't think Venus is going to retrograde. Hold on a second. I can see. Up the vertex just moving Scorpio. No, Venus isn't going to retrograde. Not for a minute at least. It didn't pop up in the quick search. Interesting. I wonder if I should pull. I don't know. If I were to extend this, I would pull before and after both the cards before and after and the North Node, South Node. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick to what I said I was going to do because this is already like what? But again, like I'm not the like glass is coming out all over. It's something that this clarity allows for. For whoever this resonates for, take it. For whoever it doesn't resonate for, don't take it. Oh, oh my gosh. Guess what card just flipped out? Guess. It was a clean flip. I mean, it was a clean fall. Guess what card just fell out? The tension. The tension is the two of orbs. So the tension got a rebrand as it went from the nocturne. Oh my gosh, the tension and the archangel of mysteries. Angel who illuminates the shadow. Angel who illuminates the shadow. Right? And then this face. The face of Anima Mundi, or a face associated with Anima Mundi, is emerging from the darkness. I'm gonna look before and after the vow also. Can't make it up, as they say. There's the Two of Pentacles again. This time it's the sun and the moon in the back instead of it being like north, north, south. I'm gonna do this real quick before I forget. And I'll show you why. It's because it feels like the vow is a promise, right? And in that there or in that card, there are two hands pressed together, and then another hand that has like clasped. The pressed together hands, Thanatos also. Here, it feels like whoever this hand belongs to, they've been guided to the cave, and now the other hand has released their hand, like someone like grabs someone's hand. And then we also see the riddle with, hands. Who was that? The riddle and Thanatos. Ooh, girl. It's almost one of those Greco-Roman mythological, like someone's asking to be shown something, or asking to go somewhere, and they're pleading to the gods or whoever, and they're like, "Okay, I will take you, but you have to close your eyes, and you have to basically like deprive yourself of your senses and just like trust as I guide you. If you open your eyes before, or if you open your eyes before the trip is over, if you let go, hopefully you know how to swim, hopefully you know how to fly, hopefully you can whatever. Opening your eyes is one thing, but you most definitely don't want to but like somebody did it, made it all the way to the cave. I'm like, oh, okay. If we can find it, where is it? At? That was the kiss. I listened to that song today. Kiss Kiss. I haven't heard that song in years. I was listening to like my old the music I had in my iTunes before I got on the Spotify train years ago. Some of them songs I haven't heard in like a decade. Like Room 5. I think also like Junior Jack. I was like, what? I was like, I used to listen to these songs on repeat daily. That was my freshman year on campus when I was just a depresso mess and miserable. But hey, the medallion and the poet are before and after the vow. We saw the poet at the cut with some other card that I don't remember. The riddle had came out. The poet was at the cut with the card that I don't remember, and it was an energy of like holding on to something for too long, like dangerous. Of course, I'm pretty sure that was a life that got pregnant. But you can see it's like this hand that's clasped around these two that are like intertwined. It feels like this is the guide. And then when they get to the cave, the guide lets go. This hand, like that's the hand that's letting go, and then you see these eyes. And it's like, ooh. And also, so in that same interview, it was a different interview with a different person. So, but the one I mentioned earlier. So that person was being interviewed by somebody else, and then they were interviewing somebody. So in the interview where they were interviewing someone else, oh, she said something, and now I've already. Oh, she said how like there are people who follow her on her socials and stuff, but when they meet her in person, they almost expect her to not be who she is, like almost to not be real, almost like they thought she was like AI or something. And I feel like that's almost the impression here, which is interesting because that storyline or that sentiment was echoed in something that my number one fan was telling me the other day. Um, she was saying that they were on a Zoom call going through some of their techniques and how there was someone who witnessed a technique working and was surprised that it worked. And then it's almost that like it's like if this is something that you believe in or whatever, like why would you be so surprised that it works? Like for the people that meet uh Carrie Colby, it's like why are you surprised that Carrie Colby is Carrie Colby in real life, right? And they were like, oh well, we reached out, but we didn't know we'd get an answer. We didn't know that you'd actually show up. Like we knew that you were real, but we didn't know that you were like real. And she's like, yeah, I am. It's she's probably one of those people that say like even better than pictures, even better than social media. But again, it's just that almost that feeling of like with whatever this is, when someone trusted something to guide them somewhere, they almost didn't expect to actually meet, or it could be one of those energies of like someone like let's say that you celebrity is easy. It's easy. Let's say it's for like work, right? Excuse me. Let's say you're going in for an interview or there's like a company that and you want to like reach out to somebody and you attend your meeting and like the head of the company is there or like you go in for your interview and the CEO is there. It's like you didn't expect to see whoever this is when you showed up because you maybe didn't think like you were important enough for somebody like that to show up, but here they are, right? Type energy. And it's interesting because it feels like the medallion is descending and then the poet is like holding it. There's a little bit of a Lord of the Rings thing here going on where it's like, who is it? Sam? Was Sam the person that held the ring and like wasn't affected by it? But it was doing a number on Mr. Frodo and Bilbo and Smeagol. That was his name, right? No, Smeagol is the Pokemon. What was his name? Gollum. I'm pretty sure Smeagol is the. No, that's Smeargle. Smeargle is the Pokemon. I think Smeagol was his name. The ring did a number on everybody else, but Sam could hold it and not be affected, not be enticed by the whispers of the ring. Not being enticed, I can barely play it. But I started the new Diablo expansion yesterday, and I watched the trailer for the Spiritborn class. And in the Spiritborn class, they walk into this smoke. They cross from the physical realm into the spiritual realm. And there are some people who are like driven mad by the whispers, and then like they die. Um, but for the chosen among the Spiritborn, they make it through. They make it safely through the passage from the physical world to the spiritual, and then they form some kind of partnership with these guardians on the spirit side, and like not being lost to madness is this. This could also be like that spirit guardian energy. They get a power, but they also get a sacred responsibility, sacred duty. Where is this going? Like I said, I don't. The necromancer, which is the moon, gateway of resurrection. This is the heart that is light as a feather, seen over by Anubis himself. This isn't Ma'at holding the scales of Anubis. This is Anubis that's like, I want to see for myself. It could be this, right? You know that there's some kind of judgment energy or justice energy that one is facing, and they're like, maybe was that a movie or was that a TV show? I need to stop drinking because now I gotta go to the bathroom. It was a movie or a TV show. I feel like it was a movie. It was a TV show. I think it was Ugly Betty. It might not have been. There was a show where there was someone who was, I'm pretty sure it was Ugly Betty. In Ugly Betty, someone had committed a crime, and the criminal, like another character had fallen in love with the criminal, and the other character had connections. She was like, I know who your judge is going to be. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to take care of it. But it's like that judge wasn't the one that ended up taking the case. And the guy ended up getting like the really strict judge that can't be bribed. Now, it's not necessarily that energy, particularly. Doesn't have to be if it doesn't resonate. Where it's like, oh, like this person's going to be a pushover. There's not going to be any real consequence. It's going to be, but then you get the one that is like, you know the law, I know the law. This is the law. You broke the law. This is your punishment. When you went through your decision, choice making, whatever process, and you knew that this was a possibility, regardless of if you thought you would get caught or not, you knew when you made that choice that if you got caught, this was a potential outcome. Maybe you didn't think you'd get caught, but you got caught. And your judge ended up being that one person. And so that potential outcome is your own. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it's like someone thought they'd get my aunt holding the scales. I'm sure my aunt isn't a pushover, but it's like a whole Anubis ended up showing up. Which, to be fair, how this is reading so far, it's actually a good thing. Again, it's not like, well, I didn't know I'd attract the attention of the CEO or the boss or whoever, but there they are, wanting to witness and experience for themselves. And then there's the Queen of Swords. They are the New World Order. Under New World Order is the Empress and the Hierophant. This is the Hierophant. This is like a good energy, basically. This isn't the Hierophant that is man that tries to elevate himself to divinity, especially upon the backs and shoulders of their supporters. The discerning one and the blind seer are right next to each other. Two of wands, two of swords. And again, it's almost like there's something that can be seen now. It comes into view. Again, playing on that energy of like the big boss showed up, right? We're looking for the north node and the south node. The south node is in between the Eight of Cups and the Healer. Eight of Chalices and Gifts of the Spirit. And you can see the south node on the horns. If it would focus, there you go. South node on the horns. Before and after this, we have the Lovers and the Initiate. What is the Lovers? Mystery of the Covenant and Spirit in Search of Experience. Now, the North Node. Oh, I might have to potty. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I gotta go now. Here we go. Oh, uh, the Journeyman and the Angel is before and after the North Node, and that we have the six and the nine, the four and the nine. Sorry, of Wands. Before the Nine of Wands, Pugilist is the Quester. After the Four of Wands, Demiurge is the Magician. The Demiurge and the Magician. Cool. Basically the same energies. All right. I will be right back. I am literally All right, I'm back. So, uh, on my excursion across the hall, it's almost like we're gonna come face to face with our beliefs, because there are many guides and there are many spirits that we could come face to face with, right? Now, what's interesting is, oh, we have the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Wands, and they're both before, and then we have two angels after, because both Temperance is an angel, the angel, and the star. Well, in this deck, it's Quan Yin, so more a goddess than a angel, but still. But the Eight of Wands, sorry, Pentacles, the Eight of Orbs. The Eight of Orbs in this deck is an initiate, is an adept who is completing her last work before she is given the staff of mastery. So on the North Node side, and again, like it's specifically in the Vitruvian edition, there's this divine feminine, divine masculine, mother, father energy that is like watching over her. And then even here in the angel, you see the feminine and masculine face of this angel. Strength implies a balance between the physical ego, the egoic and spiritual nature of man. Over here, with the defector and the healer, it feels like this is like recovering from something, and that's where that hollow void, the hallowed void is. So yeah, this is it's like coming face to face with the energy behind the belief, or the energy behind the guide, the energy behind the spirit. You and the self in some way. And with the Archangel of Mysteries here, and also with Glass, it feels like it's going to be clearly, plainly evident. And it's interesting that this is happening in Gemini, which is pretty much the sign attributed to duality and polarity. It stations direct on February 4th. So in Aquarius season, I'm just looking around the wheel. Venus will be in Pisces, crossing into Aries. I want to see the degrees, please. Venus will be 0 degrees of Aries. Saturn will be conjuncting the Neptune, sorry. Neptune will be conjuncting the North Node at 28 degrees of Pisces. Again, Aquarius season. Mercury will be in Aquarius. Pluto will be in Aquarius. That looks like Juno. Juno will be in Scorpio by then. Mars will be retrograde in Cancer. Jupiter going to do it. Uranus 23 degrees of Taurus and the moon 3 degrees of Taurus. So in 16 weeks and 5 days at roughly 3:37 a.m., I think it said Central Time. Love that app. Anyway, yeah. Well, mm, I almost wonder because this is the point where we'll realize it's reading like this is the point where we'll realize that whatever we used to think we saw in the glass, we realize the glass has actually been a mirror. So it's almost like whatever time, disruption, or delay in the glass will be stopped. And it's kind of getting that 4 2 3 4. So on the other side, it'll be a 2 3 or a 4. We'll realize again it was a mirror. The truth on the other side. Angel who illuminates the shadow. We'll see what's hidden. Maybe that's almost like if we've suppressed a lot of stuff, if we've hidden a lot of stuff under the rug, like that's what we're gonna sort of see as well when the shadow is illuminated. I love that the healer is here because it feels like it isn't gonna be. It feels like it would the harshness, if there is any harshness here, it would be internal. Maybe that's why the Two of Swords is here. Um, in terms of us, again, like we don't have to guilt, shame, blame ourselves for anything, but also at the same time, maybe there are some times where we need to see exactly how big of a role and part that we play in our own lives. And so for some things, if we don't move it, then it won't move. It won't be moved. We have to look at what our choices have wrought in a way. And again, ultimately, like it feels good. So hopefully that resonates. And it's that oh my gosh, like, I can't believe because again, the impression is that one can't believe that their efforts have been noticed by someone of such a stature or of a certain magnitude or whatever. Again, it's like you thought you would get someone's assistant or their assistant's assistant or just like a rep from HR or whatever, but like the whole CEO, the whole person shows up and they're exactly who they portray themselves to be, if not better. And kind of sort of in a way that person is us. So hopefully it goes well, man. Cool. Oh, there are levels to this. Jupiter is going to make something very clear with that alchemy of glass. Excuse me again, glass is like everywhere. Is it because we're in Libra season? Is it the balance of Libra season? Is it the balancing of the scales that doesn't present any more or any less than what is on the other side? Is that why everything is so like obvious or clear? Ten of Wands, Four of Wands. Ooh, I guess there's our final card. It's the Necromancer, the Moon, Pisces. And the bottom of the deck is Gemini, the Lovers. Uranus and Neptune. Neptune is on the table. And Pisces. No. Neptune and Saturn, sorry, Neptune and Saturn and Pisces squaring Jupiter and Gemini. Under the Lovers is the Outlaw, which is the Hangman. And under that is the Archangel Commander. Again. So we can see Pisces twice, the Hangman and the Moon. With Gemini down there, Mystery of the Covenant. Again, this orb and this tree, and the card of Gemini, is the same that the journeyman is working its way up to receive the sharpshooter Mercury in Sagittarius. I'm pretty sure Saturn was like 17 degrees of Pisces, I think. Is that what it said? Saturn is 17 degrees Pisces when Jupiter goes direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. Right now, Saturn is 13 degrees while Jupiter is at 21 degrees. So their square is actually going to tighten as they are both retrograde and eventually go direct. And it's interesting because this Jupiter Saturn square, the energy of it came out before. And it was like we had the ability to reconcile that Jupiter Saturn square so that it would feel more like a conjunction. Meaning that like they wouldn't oppose each other, that they could actually support one another. Right. Well, radio. Strongholds of the Grail. Herald of the Purifying. I wonder if that plays into the story of that Knight of Chalices that is taking the healing water of the star to those sacred pools to aerate them and break their stagnation. All right, final card from the SKT. I feel like I woke up. I was so tired before I started this. Well, I had a Baja Blast too. So after I started sipping on the Baja Blast, the final card from the SKT Revelations edition is the is a commander of intellections. So again, we take the reins here. Bottom of the deck is the Mason Three of Orbs. In the Vitruvian edition, in the Revelations edition, the temple, the church, the monastery is complete. In the Vitruvian edition, it's still being built. Now we've seen it in the other editions, but no, different day, different read, maybe different energy. The joyous one, Ten of Cups. Mars in Pisces, Mars in Capricorn, and the Emperor, which is Aries. Whoa. What song is that even a song? I'm pretty sure it is a song. Cars was the song that popped into my mind the other day after Barracuda. Kairos and the stove. This is such an interesting energy. Also, Kairos is interesting because of that time lag or time delay that was on the mirror that made it look like glass and the medallion in Kairos. Maybe the medallion is like a pocket watch, and that's what gets time to like resume. You know. Saturn is associated with time, right? Chronos. Well, I guess there's a difference between Chronos and Cronus, so maybe not. But even with like cultivation and agriculture, like that's associated with time. At the very least, seasons. All right, final archetype. Ooh, the temple. Interesting. Bottom of the deck is the animal. For some reason, this brings snakes to mind. I know the reason. Um, it's because there's a lot of snakes in India, and I know someone who like lives near a temple or something full of snakes. And that was it. I feel like it was a YouTube short where someone talked about there's an argument. It's like a rat something or a snake something. There have been different times, places where there's been an abundance of a certain type of undesired animal. And in order to reduce those populations, there was a monetary reward paid for anyone who would dispose of those animals and like provide proof, right? Now, apparently, it was so lucrative that people started breeding the animals so they could sell them. They bred them so they could, I guess, kill them and then sell them. And then when the authorities caught on, they were like, "Oh, but greed, I guess you could say. I struggle to say greed only because I don't know what their living situations were like, and maybe they needed the money. Okay. Just because somebody's get more money doesn't necessarily always mean it's greed. Because if you ain't got nothing and you go from nothing to something, that's not greed. That's surviving. And then it becomes thriving. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know what kind of gross excess it was, but regardless, I think something similar. They said that something similar happened in India when, the people who aren't there anymore were there. Um, they like there would be cash rewards for like dead snakes because there were so many snakes. But then people started breeding snakes to get more money. Then they left or they stopped paying out, and then there was an increase in the snake population. What does that have to do with this? I don't know. Maybe it has to do with. I'll just leave it. I don't know. Taking it for resonance. If it doesn't resonate, don't take it. I don't have to put any additional meaning into it. But the temple came out and the animal is here. The temple and the animal also gives me um I was listening to somebody talk about something, and I'm pretty sure there was a temple in India that somebody went to. Someone was traveling and happened to be in the vicinity of a temple. And when they went to the temple, there was like an animal that they had seen. And it's something about the animal's connection to the spirit of the temple, the spirit that resides in the temple, or the deity to which the temple symbolizes. Also, I guess it could be like a totem animal of a certain deity, like with the potentially with the face of a deity revealing itself. Maybe you see a lot of like deer, and deer are the animal of Artemis, Diana. And you're like, oh, that's Artemis, Diana. Or you see an animal associated with the nectar. I just felt like cutting it. Oh, well, we know who's associated with the nectar, don't we? What would that animal be? Snakes, at least partially. So yeah, snake, kundalini. Oh, personal synchronicity. Oh, less synchronicity, more realization. But it's one that I had picked up on. It's interesting. No, it's, well, I guess I'll say it. There are certain things that mean something to me. There's something that means something to me that I've forgotten about. And there are sometimes I would get personal reads and something would constantly come up. And the thing itself, as it came up, didn't resonate as much as what it symbolized for me. And then I'm like, oh. And that came to mind because of the snake and stuff. So, but I guess what's most interesting is after I made the connection between like, why do readers keep saying this to me? Like, sure, but what? And then like, oh, that's why. And I can see if someone just saw this, I can see why they would go there instead of in the direction of what it means to me. But what came out most recently is like what it means to me. I was like, okay, that was cool. No more whatever, I guess, now that I've figured it out. Like, why don't you just say that in the first place? All right. Anyway, final cards, final alchemy. Everything is glass. Everything is glass. Maybe also with it being glass, there's something about the alchemy of Jupiter that will become more clear as well. Not just in our ability to perceive them. But I guess that's also the thing. It's almost like with the expansion of Jupiter, it's like if you zoom in on something, then maybe you'll be able to see it, or you could see fine details of a thing. It's also really easy to notice flaws when you zoom in on something. And so the exaggerated perspective could magnify insecurity. Who was that? That was a minute ago. Somebody was like, oh, look at this thing. Oh, I remember now. Somebody was like, oh, look at this pimple or whatever I have right here. I was like, what are you talking about? And then they got like all up in the camera. And I was like, well, if you zoom in on anything, you'll be able to find a flaw. Hey, Trish. How are you? How are you doing? Oh, this is interesting. Venus and copper at the cut. Venus and the metal associated with Venus. Veneris, Eris. Let's see. Clean flip or clean fall? Clean. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. The moon and the benevolent. Interesting. The moon, and the benevolent guide almost giving the energy of the guide in the vow earlier, leading us through that place, space, void. The new pearl in the moon. Okay. The moon and silver have been coming out lately, specifically silver, but also the moon. But I guess I'm pretty sure the video that silver came out in got prohibited. So if that was a message that was supposed to get out and it's not out, then to see those energies come back up, I'm like, okay. Oh, sun splendor. I feel like this is like getting warmer and warmer. 53 with silver at the cut. Sun, splendor, and silver. This is a daily renewal. Every day the sun rises again to polish our tarnished spirits after we endure the night. The sun will come again. The sun will rise on the third day. I'm sorry. The SON will come again. Got it. Anyway. All right, final card, please. I want a clean flip or a clean fall. Oh, no. That was like 7 to 10 cards that just hit the table. I know very little about metals and crystals for that matter. 4 cards. Okay. Sublimation, Saturn, Mercury, and calcification. I'm not taking these, but here you go. Excuse me. Sublimation, Saturn, Mercury, and then antimony is at the bottom. Antimony. The golden rose and antimony. I love that combination because antimony breaks down a lot of things. Gold isn't one of them. Antimony does not tarnish gold. Oh, and then the androgen with that golden rose. Rabus. All right. What? Oh, I caught him. Unus Mundus, synchronicity. That was almost a clean fall, but the fall was too dirty. It was too dirty, so it doesn't count. And that was like five cards. Like two would be like three, one, perfectly fine. Three, kind of pushing it. Four, I already put four cards back, so it has to be less than that. I feel like I'm looking for it. Clean flipper, clean fall. It feels like there's so much going on. It's hard for just one to come out. So if Massa Confusa Chaos comes out, it's not necessarily the energy of chaos, it's just because so much is like happening. It's also giving me it's like complex benevolent guide 57 at the bottom. It's almost like complex. Uh, I did like reduce, I don't know why. I reduced the volume by like 10 from 80 to 70 on the mic. So. Or did I? I don't think I turned it back, but I might have. Benevolent guide. Oh, it's almost like like there's a complex alchemical process that's happening. And it's complex because like there are multiple steps. So at first it was just an energy of like there are multiple things that are like happening in the lab in general. But now it's almost something that feels metabolic. Like in order for something to go from a raw form to a fully processed form, there are several different alchemical steps that need to happen. And so can't, just one wouldn't necessarily be sufficient unless it was something like Master Confuser, which is chaos. Um, but I feel like that also means if like 10 cards come out, then they're all like irrelevant. Because of that, competition also comes to mind, but competition in the sense of um like there are different metabolic pathways within a certain like different metabolic pathways within a greater metabolic system. They're like side reactions, and so if you have a huge concentration of something and only a certain number of catalysts or enzymes that can move one, like the main process forward, you're going to get a bunch of side reactions because it's just like there's so much raw materials that are available. The drowned king. All right. So maybe that's it. I'll give it five shuffles. If nothing comes out, then I'll just leave it there. Then I will leave it there. There's one. There's two. The benevolent guide again. Oop, three. Or clean flipper, clean fall. Xanthosis yellow. Ooh, look at that. That was dirty. But it flipped and one fail. It was a dirty fall, but a clean flip. So bottom of the deck is Mercury. I don't know why that's giving me dragon tails. I wish to use this rhyme to go back home until next time. The card that came out face down is Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus, and Mercury should be in Libra or somewhere around Libra. Mercury is never too far from the sun because it is so close. Mercury is in Libra, 23 degrees. So Mercury is going to hit Scorpio before the sun does. Mercury is ahead of the sun right now. And depending on how fast it is, that means it's going to retrograde soon ish. Because again, Mercury can't get too far ahead of the sun. Not from our vantage point, it can. From our perspective, at most, Mercury can only be one sign away from the sun because it's so close and we are so far. I saw something. It was probably one of those Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't like astrology, whatever. I feel like he said something that was like, if we had the astronomical knowledge that we have now, back then, retrogrades wouldn't be a thing. But I feel like retrogrades would still be a thing because it would just be defined as like when the planet appears to move backwards in the sky, right? We have all kinds of words and phrases and terms for things that are apparent, even though we know that they're not real, like a mirage. When you the thing that you think you see because of hot air evaporating over this whatever in the waves and everything. Like we have a word for mirages, and we know that it's not like real water, right? Anyway, no shade to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know the man, and I'm sure he's a lot smarter than I am. Some would say. It's not that I think I'm smarter. He is a very well researched and well educated man. I am less researched and less educated, I will admit. But still, that doesn't mean that I forfeit the right to think. I don't think he would want me to. It's just like we have words for things that appear to be something that they're not. A retrograde would still be a thing. Would it be as big of a thing? That's arguable, I guess, but we would still have the term for it anyway. Sulfur. Sulfur and Uranus. Am I gonna read this? Sulfur is the card that it was the clean flip, but the dirty fall. 29, which isn't. This is the card before glass. Sulfur is evaporation up and out, both and. On an esoteric level, sulfur is the first of what is known in alchemy as tria prima, or the three primes. Along with salt and mercury, it makes up a threefold phenomenon that symbolizes the uniting of soul, sulfur, body, salt, and mind, mercury. On a tactile level, sulfur is responsible for both the off putting smells and the therapeutic properties of a mineral bath. It soothes and it stinks, literally. To understand sulfur is to embrace a both and mentality. Don't be discouraged if the meaning of this card seems to evaporate before your eyes. For now, keep in mind that what is gross contains beauty, and what is beautiful contains its own demise. Sulfur's job is to push the geyser up and out, dissipating the pressure. Don't be surprised if what appears to suck or stink soon becomes a great gift. And then we have Uranus, the card of the unexpected. It shows up unexpectedly, it stinks, you don't want it, but then you realize maybe the gift that it has to bring, or the gift that it has come with. Uranus is awakening brilliance and individualism. Uranus or Oranos. When Uranus strikes, we are in for a surprise, not in the outer world, but in ourselves. What wasn't possible before is possible now, thanks to Uranus and its ability to shatter our perceptions. This shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. For an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long awaited aha moment or a sudden stroke of genius. Inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. A seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. The alchemist knows this radical energy isn't sustainable, and so the work is to show up each day, whether or not Uranus strikes. That is interesting because of the surprise, yes. Oh, because it has the ability to shadow our perceptions, leading to things being possible now that weren't possible before. That plays on that initial energy that I felt with Jupiter in the glass, where it's like it's because we can see something now that we couldn't see before, or it's because something exists now that didn't exist before, that an opportunity can go a lot further. Also, Mercury is here. Now it's the planet Mercury and not Quicksilver. But both the mind and the soul are present, but the body isn't here because Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus is so earthly, and related to the body, the senses, but we'll say it's the body. The body is going through some kind of change that may mirror or reflect the mind and the soul, or just the physical in general, our reality, our experience. Um, yeah. Also, though, if we find ourselves stuck or stagnant, Uranus, it's almost like no, either this is the body like catching up to where the mind and the soul are or have been, or this is something shocking happening in the body to the body or in real life that leads to a breakthrough in the mind and the soul. Almost like when you see something that you didn't think was possible being done, and so now you have to acknowledge that you don't have to. Nobody has to do anything. Now you have the opportunity to acknowledge that something is possible, that something is real. And then maybe there was a lot of denial that kept the mind from reaching a certain point of conception, that kept the soul from being able to say something, to be heard in some way. It dulled the soul shine, maybe. And it's actually the physical that leads to the breakthrough in the soul, the mind. Cool. So that's everything. Just like Libra season, girl, it feels like there's like heavy play. Unsurprisingly, probably. But it feels like there's like heavy play in multiple arenas, in the physical, in the mental, in the energetic, the internal. like all of the above. And the truth of what we align to is there if we wish to see it. And if we don't wish to see it, it may make itself apparent anyway with that Uranus. And it'll stink for a little bit, because maybe like, man, like I was starting to see how what I bought into or what I believed isn't what I thought, but like I didn't want to know the truth, but now that I know the truth, at least like I can move on, or I can find something that actually does resonate with what I believe, right? Because appearances can be deceiving. Well, whatever. All right. I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting on alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and where you find. And until next time, we're I will catch y'all the next time I catch you. And hopefully, I was going to say, hopefully it won't be tomorrow. I don't know what else is happening or going on. If I still got audio and the stream didn't shut down, then I guess there is at least some hope for tomorrow.